This is Finfinne News Network. Finfinne News Network broadcasts news, documentaries, public events, and opinions relevant to the Oromo people. FNN is an umbrella media organization of several Oromo media sources that advocate for the rights of the Oromo people. FNN seeks to bring fresh news, commentaries, investigative journalism, and education to those in Oromia and beyond. We broadcast using television and social media networks. FNN is a voice of the Oromo people and depends on the support of viewers like you. Please consider partnering with us, providing a voice for the Oromo people.
Welcome, everybody. This is Finfinne News Network. I'm back with Dr. Trevor Truman, Dr. Galato. Dr. Galato, welcome. Today we'll discuss on Oromia Human Rights Information Management System. So we'll discuss with Dr. Trevor on the recent launching of the Oromia Human Rights and Information Management System. Good evening, Dr. Trevor, and welcome back to Finfinne News Network.
Thank you very much. Heddu Galatoma and Baganagan Egdan. Thank you very much, Daniel. It's lovely to be back.
Awesome. So, Dr. Trevor, FNN received OSG report number 60, in which he documented the execution of more than 363 Oromos since the beginning of this year, January 2022. By the Ethiopian government forces and affiliated armed groups. In a press release issued prior to that.
Oh, sorry. I think it's actually more than that, Daniel. I think it's 600 and something. But,
yeah. So yeah, you in the current report in OSG number 60. Just looking at the contents, I added the number of
right,
yeah, that adds up to like 363, and I'm wondering why there is a discrepancy between this report and the press release that you issued shortly before this report.
I know it's what the number of killings that have been reported this year is the 690 odd. The ones reported within report 60, they include 300 or so new ones out of that 690 odd.
I see. So this is just part of the 600 and
that's right.
That was reported over the last few months.
That's correct.
Yeah. I see. Thank you for clearing this up, because I was a little confused, and I've been planning to talk to you, but yeah, it's a good day. Thank you.
It's very easy, and I often get mixed up with the numbers. I have to keep everything written down so that I can refer back to it, and it's very easy to make mistakes. And if you do have any doubts, please, call them out. I constantly have to check myself then.
Yeah.
Because if you're trying to do something all the time, you don't see simple errors sometimes, because you
exactly. I agree. I work with data most of the time, and I understand the need for another eye to look at what you have done. Yeah. So yeah.
But this is the beauty of OHRIMS, this new system. It's once it's there, it's recorded. It's
exactly.
It's historical.
Exactly. We'll be talking about that in very detail. Let me ask you a few questions as introduction to our today's discussion. So the United Nations International Commission of Human Rights Experts on Ethiopia concluded a call for submission of right abuses in Ethiopia on July 31st. Did OSG have access to the expert group to submit the data that you have been collecting over the last few years? And how open was the UN Commission to accept data from individuals and groups like OSG?
They were very open to get our information. They were very keen to try to get information from people on the ground, but they met with a lot of problems through other organizations where they actually attempted to contact individuals on the ground, and they realized that it's just too dangerous. But we'll have to wait and see what the report says. I had email correspondence with the chief investigator, but he was unable to telephone me for an interview. However, he did so with OLA, the Oromo Legacy Leadership Advocacy Association in the USA, and he was very receptive to what they said. I understand. We cannot preempt the report, but this will just be a beginning. There is an obvious need for more and more independent investigation of abuses in Ethiopia, both from the UN point of view and also from the USA point of view, with the Senate bill around the corner, where we hope it will be put in law that the US wants to investigate human rights abuses in Ethiopia.
Thanks so much. Most of the time, question arises who is doing what, and because Ethiopia is such a polarized country, certain nations are targeted. For example, the Oromo, the Tigrans are commonly targeted, the Benishangul Gumuz and the likes, and so a question arises who is doing what and the like. So in this case, who was the person who interviewed you? Does the person have any connection with Ethiopia, or is an international person? The question arises about the impartiality of the person who is doing.
As far as I can see, thoroughly impartial. I was very pleased with the nature of the correspondence and the whole tone of it. So I'm as far as I can see, but we'll have to wait and see what the published report says. But as far as I can see, their approach has been very inclusive, encouragingly inclusive, despite the presence of many people who want to deny the Oromo a proper voice.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that you had unfettered access to the expert group. Infinite Network, actually, we tried to submit some of the information we have been collecting. We constantly receive news of human rights violations by the Ethiopian government and other related armed groups. So we submitted that in the online platform that they provided, and also we sent email to the email that they provided, but we haven't heard back from anyone. And so there was a concern from us whether they were receptive.
That really is excellent, because FNN gathers news that other people do not get. So it's really good that we get information coming from all different directions. And I think one of the strengths of the Oromo movement is that all of our information ties in with each other. There's no disagreement. We all know what's going on, and we speak with one voice about the war that's being currently waged on Oromia.
Yeah, that's very good, Dr. Trevor. Yeah, so one of the other issues that is sometimes spoken about is the Amnesty International East Africa branch. The Oromos seem to have a question about the impartiality, because they were more focusing on the Amara. It looks like their Amnesty International representative might be a person from the north, but specifically from the Amara region, and seems to bias against the Oromos, and the Oromos have concern, and so that's why I want to ask you about this question.
This is something I've been looking into, because I've long had the impression that Amnesty was biased against expressing pro-Oromo victims, talking about Oromo victims of human rights abuse rather than Oromo perpetrators of human rights abuse. And it does seem that the researcher for Ethiopia is certainly from that area, is biased against the Oromo. Whether that's subconscious or conscious, I cannot say. But looking objectively at all the amnesty reports written since 2016, there was a definite shift after Harchelu Hundesa was killed. Immediately after that, in July 2020, we hardly ever saw one reference to the Oromo being victims of human rights abuses, but we did see lots of references to Amhara groups being victims of human rights abuses, and we saw two huge references to the Oromo Liberation Army being blamed for horrific abuses against Amhara and others in Guliso in November 2020, and again we saw in Tole in July. Yeah. And those in the second line of the Guliso report from Amnesty said allegedly perpetrated by the Oromo Liberation Army. The second paragraph of the report on the Tole massacre said that they've interviewed 10 survivors and witnesses, all claiming that it was people speaking Oromo or implying that it was the Oromo Liberation Army that did it. No, there's a clear bias in Amnesty, and this is something that should be called out.
Yeah, that's very surprising because the Oromo Liberation Army immediately called for impartial international investigation into the allegations. But at the moment, there was no open investigation by impartial organizations. So it's very surprising. How did they got the people, the 10 people that they interviewed? Are they arranged from people living in the U.S., people living in Finfinne? And who are those? Are they really living in the area? Yeah.
They would be contacts that people wanted Amnesty to hear.
Yeah.
And these would be powerful groups who wanted Amnesty to hear these people's voices, claiming that it was Ola who did it. And Fiseha Tekle, the researcher, he obviously believes that Ola did it. And
that's very surprising. How does he sit in Kenya and just believe it without talking to the two sides? You know, there is always two sides of the same story.
His attempts to talk to the two sides are very different. He will speak in Amharic to Amharas, but he travels down to Awassa to expect to interview victims and witnesses from Guji, who have to travel to Awassa and then speak to him in Amharic. Is that equal?
Yeah, that's usually impossible because it's impossible to get people living in the rural area in Oromia and Guji, in Wallaga and other places who speak Amharic. So if you want to get a true story of really what happened, you have to be able to speak in the language that the people understand and speak.
So I'm afraid I do not trust Amnesty International's reporting on Ethiopia. And I think Amnesty International is now part of the problem for the Oromo rather than part of the solution. I'm ashamed to say this because Amnesty is an organization I've worked very hard for, with, and through to champion the Oromo cause. And
yeah, I remember Letitia Berder. Is she a staffer at
Human
Amnesty?
Rights Watch. She's Human Rights Watch.
Yeah, Human Rights Watch. She's been a reliable source of information and report on the human rights violations that's happening in Ethiopia. But Amnesty
absolutely objective. And you notice the tone of the joint report by Amnesty and Human Rights Watch about the atrocities in Western Tigray. That joint report, which really concentrates on the ethnic cleansing by Amhara militia of Tigrayan people from Western Tigray. Now, the tone of that report on the Mayakadra massacre is very different to the Amnesty report earlier of the Mayakadra massacre. In the Amnesty report, it was Tigrayans doing the majority of the killing. In the joint report, it was the Amharas doing the majority of the killing. So obviously, Fizeha Tekla had his biased views somewhat moderated by the joint authorship of that report.
It's very
No,
surprising.
he's got a
Amnesty
shameful-
that has a great reputation.
I'm sorry, Daniel.
Yeah, it's very surprising that Amnesty International, an organization that has a great reputation on human rights, hires a person who is
Yep.
openly biased against the other.
What an organization to have to fight against. It's awful to see that they are sort of supporting the people who are perpetrating the majority of abuses in Ethiopia against the peripheral peoples, the southern, the marginalized peoples.
Yeah, it's obvious that there is some kind of bias going on in terms of reporting, even not just human rights organizations, but media as well. I think it was in June when the several Oromos were killed in Gambela, and scores of people were transported on trucks, on multiple trucks, and in some place in Wallo, and they were executed, and it was recorded on video. And we had that solid evidence about what happened, but no media spoke about it more than a single report on, like a written report, something like that. And then some obscure Tole massacre was reported, and that it was pinned several times by local and international media, and the number grew from a few tens to like over 1,000, something like that. So there is an obvious bias against when it comes to reporting incidents that happen in Oromia.
It's very interesting to know the speed at which that report came out. And the same thing happened with the Guliso massacre in November 2020.
Yeah.
They were pre-planned attacks, and the media coverage was already, it was primed. Within hours, Amnesty International had reports out on both those incidents.
Yeah, to get you back to the
Yes,
UN human rights experts, do you think they will investigate the atrocities that's happening to the Oromo people right now? Honestly, it's happening on daily basis, and we are almost tired of reporting. And do you think there will be
the focus is the focus is increasingly on Oromia now. People are realizing that Abiy is trying to do in Oromia what he's been doing in Tigray. And
so you hope that the UN expert group will focus on Oromia as well?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. I think that's it concerning that. Let's get back to the
OHRIMS.
Yeah, so OHRIMS, the Oromia Global Forum Information Collection and Dissemination Committee has established the Oromia Human Rights Information Management System that aims to support and streamline the works of Oromo human rights groups like the OSG. Have you been using the technology?
Well, and our reports are being loaded up onto the site, but the really exciting thing about this is that it's overcoming the barriers of two barriers. One is getting information out, and also the barrier of the disinformation and lies that are spread about the Oromo, where the victims of abuses are blamed as perpetrators of abuses. So this is a hugely encouraging step, because truth is on our side. Truth and history are going to be on our side. And so this will help us push that forwards because, as I say, it'll do two things. One, it will enable the truth to come out, and two, it will go partway to destroying some of the disinformation and slander that's been put against us, really. We have citizens who will be encouraged to report human rights abuses in a safe, secure way. The barriers that we're up against, the difficulties of movement of people, access to areas, transport being shut down, curfews with the military command posts, telephones being shut down, internet access being poor. But if we can get people just for a few minutes onto a safe, secure internet site where they can report these abuses, then it will be done and they won't be traceable. It'll be secure information that we can then use to inform the United Nations, the Human Rights Commission, the Human Rights Council, to inform other governments and to inform NGOs. It's not only killings, of course, that people can report. The whole gamut of human rights abuses are possible to report on this site. And as you'll demonstrate, you can filter the information that you receive on the site. You can see all the reports that have been put on, and you can add your own information and see where the worst abuses are occurring. You can see where things are concentrated, and you can distinguish what sort of abuses are going on. If you want to see where houses are being burnt, where property is being looted and stolen, then you can find out by filtering the reports on the site.
Yeah, let me show the introduction by the OHRIMS team, and then we'll get back to our discussion.
Sure.
When information about a violation is logged effectively in a secure and accessible central repository, human rights defenders have a powerful tool at their disposal to advocate and litigate for justice.
Are you an Oromo human rights defender organization tired of your current manual data collection and report generation process? Frustrated with fragmented human rights violations, data storage which restricts access and hinders data sharing? Do you want to streamline your data collection and reporting processes, preserve ongoing violations, and generate reliable conclusions? To identify trends and patterns better, to extract actionable intelligence, develop cases for strategic human rights advocacy and litigations if necessary?
Then listen carefully. You need a technology tool that can streamline your data collection, organization, and reporting process, allowing you more time to focus on the core business of your organization, which is advocacy.
That technology tool here is the Oromia Human Rights Information Management System, OHRIMS. What is OHRIMS?
Developed in consultation with member organizations of the OGF engaged in defending Oromo human rights, OHRIMS is a secure and accessible central repository of human rights abuse victims, perpetrators, and events information created to address the challenges we listed above.
With OHRIMS, you will be able to enter human rights abuse data from anywhere in the world and use any device connected to the internet to run a web browser, including your smartphone.
No connection to the internet? No problem. We have a standard data collection template you may populate and send to us. We will then upload it for you into OHRIMS. Are you looking for prepared reports at a certain frequency? Weekly, monthly, yearly? No problem. The OHRIMS team will provide you with standard reports at a frequency of your choice. If you have a need for custom reports, the OHRIMS team will work with you to understand your requirements and customize them for you. OHRIMS is designed to revolutionize how Oromo human rights defenders cooperate among themselves by consolidating their information management systems in a secure and accessible central repository and analytics system. All Oromo human rights defenders will benefit hugely from having the information they collect be made available through this centralized information management system with a potentially larger user base and standard reports. If you have questions or want to inquire about using OHRIMS, contact us at ohrims@gmail.com.
So how easy is it to use ORIMS, Dr. Trevor? And who can
Well,
use it?
I'm not a computer expert by any means, but I found it quite easy to navigate through the site. And initially, you're given a map, and on that map, you can see where abuses have occurred within a time period that you determine. If you want to see what's been happening in the year 2001, you can see. If you want to see what's been happening since 2018, then you can see. And you can filter the information. You can look for killings. You can look for displacements. You can look for burning of property or confiscation of property. So there's a vast wealth of information that is available on that site. Now, human rights defenders in Ethiopia, as I say, face two barriers. One is access and getting information out. And this, as we've seen, can do that. You need a brief time on the internet, or you fill in the template that somebody else can upload for you. And once that's down, it's there, it's on the site, and it's secure. And also, this will stop some of the disinformation that's been getting out. It's a marvelous system, and I think initially the aims of the people who set this up were initially, I thought, unrealistically high, but they've succeeded. They've actually developed this superb tool for advocacy and for the future, because future people will want to know who did this, where and when, and there it will be on record, as you've shown on the screen there. That's an individual report. If you focus down a little bit, the green areas are whether it's under 10 episodes of abuse in that particular area. And if you enlarge the map, you see fewer and fewer of the bigger numbers. There's an individual one with the black spot and the teardrop shape. Individual abuses are always shown like that on the map. And if you press on one of the larger numbers, you'll see a lot of the individual abuses, some of the individuals there, and then you'll focus down further onto the green or yellow circles.
So when we first go to the OHRIMS website, the website is described here. First, we see the map. We have options like map, data, activity, and more. On the right-hand side, we have a yellow circle with a plus sign in the center. This can also appear on the left top corner at appendice. So when we click on the map, we see the map, and there are some circles with numbers in the center, some bubble plots. So the orange one here has a lot of numbers described, so that indicates the incidents happen to several people. When we click on it, we will see the details. The green ones have numbers less than 10, and the yellow ones are next, and then the orange one indicate the large number of people being affected in the same area. So when we click on each one of them and expand it, we can see individual incidents. If we click on individual incident, for example, right here, we see who is affected, who submitted it. So like we can click on it more, and then we get detailed information about the incident. So in this situation, for example, Abdiwak Araga is a victim, and his case was reported by an international Cairo group. Abdiwak is male. The place of incident or zone is Kalam Walaga in this case, and the incident was days, so he was killed. And the place, the geolocation of the place is described here. So this was reported 6 months ago via web. Let's go back to map. Again, we can click on here, further, and click on individual incidents, and you can click on the detail and see. So the detail is that Lalise Kanate was shot by Oromia police. The victims are brothers, Lalisa Kanate, and Iyasu Kanate, and they were buried in a single hole. The incident was reported by Human Rights League of the Horn of Africa. The victims were male. So there are 2 victims in this case, and the zone is East Wallaga, and the district is Ebantu. And the date was February 10, 2019. And the type of incident was days. The geolocation is indicated here. We can go back to the data. The data lists the incidents that have already been reported. We can click on each and get the details. So the website, the OHRIMS websites, the Oromia Human Rights Information Management System lists the incidents that have been submitted. And when we click on each one of those, we can see the details. For example, this victim is Ibashi Abdisa. It was reported by Human Rights League of the Horn of Africa. He's from West Shawa Zone and Bako district. And her incident was reported on March 29, 2019, and she was detained, she was arrested. We can also submit a new incident by clicking on the plot that appears at the right lower corner. So there are a couple of options. So the first one says which means individual incident open to public, so any public can submit the information. And the second option is Iba Yokin Bukainsa Gartunge, which means group violence and displacement. Again, a public can submit. And the third option is Badins Kabenya or asset loss open to public. So let's click on the first one. And that takes us to the form. So here, the name of the reporting organization, you can click here and get from drop down or write down Maka Nama Mergid Ibame. So the full name of the victim, what happened, described, list the names of the impacted persons, the gender of the victim, the age of the victim, the occupation of the victim, the place of incident, the victim's district or town of residence, the victim's zone of residence, the date of incident, type of incident. There is a drop down. When you go to the website, there is a drop down, so one can pick from that drop down. And victims perceived organization. So victim is allegedly associated with what organization? Most of the time they report as a member of the Oromo Liberation Army, or what that they refer to Shane, or the victim might be related to Oromo Liberation Front, or it could be the victim is allegedly related to OFC or any other Oromo organization or Oromo interest group. The alleged perpetrator, mostly these are the Ethiopian government armies, the Oromia regional special police or regular police, federal police, the Amara militia, the Amara regular army, Amara police, and FAN terrorist groups. So the alleged perpetrator, the person who caused the injury, days, or a loss of property, should be listed here. If you have a photo, you have to submit, upload a photo here, and you can add captions. If you have a video, a YouTube video link, and then you can post the video link in this box. And finally, you can put, for example, you can add the place of the incidents by dropping here. For example, if the incident happened in Jimma, for example, in Akobo, in Begi, Kobor area, a lot of incident has happened in the last few days. So if you are from that area, you can click on the specific place and then add the people who are affected. Or if you are from the Eastern Hararghe, there are a lot of arrests in the last couple of days in Great Yara and those areas. You can put where the place happened by zooming in. You can see the places, the details of the places. And then finally submit. You submit, and then get back to submit another data, or you can finish it. So that's it. That's a way to collect or to submit data on human rights violation incidents in Oromia. Thank you very much.
So you want a few more comments about the system itself, Daniel?
Yes, of course. Yeah, so yeah, I want you to speak on what is the advantage of collecting Oromo human rights violations through OHRIMS, through one database. What is the advantage? What is the potential for this database?
The potential is huge. By having accurate, reliable information that's readily accessible, we will be able to provide facts and truth to the media, to the UN, to governments. As I say, it's a wonderful tool for advocacy. We'll be able to apportion blame to the real culprits of abuses in Ethiopia. We'll be able to clear the name of Ola. If there are any human rights abusers within the Ola structure, then obviously we should call them out and name them and punish them. But I'm pretty sure we'll see that the name of Ola is cleared when investigations, independent investigations, are taking place. But I think part of this process will be stopping or reducing the fear and ignorance that people have of the Oromo. And including the citizens of Amhara region, which is the people that we must convince, really. Because the whole hostility, the whole cycle of violence in Ethiopia is due to this fear and hostility of one former elite group, which resents having power taken from it. And we have to educate common people that Oromo don't want to take anything from them. They just want to live in peace.
Yeah, so yeah, it really seems to have a very great potential. Dr. Bunty Teso in Nafan Oromo conversation said that the data that's collected via the OHRIMS can be used by international organizations such as ICC and regional organizations, human rights organizations in Africa, and like globally. It could also be used by individual or lawyers association, like it could be Oromo Lawyers Association or it could be Africa Lawyers Association. Any lawyers association can use this data and start a litigation against the Ethiopian government or any other violator. Do you think it has really this potential, and what needs to be done in order for the information and data to be utilized for that purposes?
Yeah, it would be part of a portfolio of abuses that and reports of abuses that could be used in an international criminal court. But I'm no international lawyer, so I can't really comment on what information is used in those cases. But surely the bulk of reports reflects on the perpetrator himself. When Abiy does come to being hauled up before an international criminal court, if he survives that long, then this will be part of the information to bring against him, sure. But already the tide is turning, and if we can keep informing people about the truth and where the abuses are happening, who they're happening to, and who's committing them, eventually the truth will permeate through.
Yeah, so the OHRIMS team promises that they can prepare reports weekly, monthly, and annually.
Yes.
That makes the works of the Oromo human rights organizations easier.
Well, it'll certainly add to the ways we can present the information, but anybody can access OHRIMS and say, well, there are so many killings in East Wallaga in January, there are so many killings in Harage in February, or so many burnings of property. So, and you can be updated automatically, and that's the joy of the OHRIMS system. But the need for reports by the Oromia Support Group, Human Rights League for the Horn of Africa, OMRO in Germany, those will still be needed, of course. Of course. But this will be a wonderful supplement to all that. Yeah.
Yeah, always the human part of this kind of work is always needed. There has to be a human out there to sift through the information and make sure that it can be verified, and then organize it and prepare a report. I think when you produce a report, you are doing only on new things, and you don't want to do the same again and again. You want to add new information.
Well,
so
the latest report, I did stray from the normal pattern because I wanted the UN inquiry to be aware of everything that had happened this year, including what I'd previously reported, hence the difficulty with the numbers, if you remember.
Yeah.
So this one, I did refer to a lot to abuses that had occurred in the recent past, rather than just since the last report, but that they weren't included in the overall total. So as far as I know, there's no double counting.
If I'm correct, ORIMS is the first database on Oromo human rights violations. Why would the ORIMS team need to continue to provide this service?
It's essential because it will be a huge part of the information that comes out that turns the tide, which has up to now been against the Oromo, but it'll be part of the information that will turn the tide in support of the Oromo when we get truth and what's inevitable in Ethiopia. But when people realize it and act accordingly, then the information coming out will have done its purpose. It's really good.
Yeah, so among the Oromia Global Forum, the information collection and dissemination team is one of the strongest and actively working and productive in the last couple of years. And now they have, they have rewarded us with this great database platform. Most of websites and internet databases like this cost money and they are very expensive. I think they might need financial support to continue to provide it. And on the side of the skills and technology that they provide, it has to be posted on certain platform, and that requires money. And based on my information, it's only few people are supporting that part of it. So I think the Oromo community at large and any other group that is interested in supporting this work should reach out to the ORIMS team and provide their support.
I agree entirely. I'm not very good at asking for money and things because we don't need to. But for ORIMS, it's essential. You're not dealing with people managing a few computers in a backyard somewhere. You're dealing with top level experts here who are providing top of the range security for the information. And these are it's good quality stuff. And that in terms of the internet presence and the software necessary, this costs money. And if you're going to have a really decent system like this, then we do need to support it financially. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, it's very, very crucial. On Finfinen's network, we receive news of human rights violations on daily basis, almost on daily basis. In the last couple of days, for example, we received people in Kobor, in Begi, several of them were executed by the Ethiopian Armed Forces. Among them is a person called Abdallah. He's a Haji. He's a very reputable person, and he's a civilian, and he was executed while he was traveling from his home to a different place. And along with him, several people were also killed. And today, a person from Duret Yara in East Hararge just reached out to me and saying about 80 Ethiopian Defense Force have surrounded our town, and my family members have been taken away, and really in very deep suffering right now. I'm very disturbed, and he said, and he was trying to contact me while I was in the studio, and so it's really ongoing on daily basis. On daily basis, Ethiopian government doesn't want to reduce or stop the violations of human rights in Oromia. So it's continuing from day to day. The army seems to be trained and equipped and always ordered to commit human rights violations in Oromia. It's not reducing. There is no decline in the violations. It's escalating from time to time. So it's really, when we see these kind of efforts to streamline the works of the organizations that report on that collect and report on human rights. It's encouraging.
Very good. I must have a word about those recent abuses before we finish.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that's all the question that I have for you today. If you want to say something on OHRIMS or Oromia human rights situation, current human rights situation, yeah, it's your time.
Well, thank you, Daniel. This is a very important project to support. It's important because it is providing more impetus and momentum to the change of focus now. Internationally, people are looking to what's happened in Oromia, and we are on the verge of a big change in public opinion. And so this is coming at an absolutely crucial time, and it's very important to support it.
Thank you, Dr. Trevor.
Great. Thank you very much, Daniel.
It's been great having you. It's evening over there. I'm sorry for keeping you up.
Oh, it'll be, well, it's not late. It's not too late. And it is very early. Well, it's still quite early for you, isn't it?
Yeah, it's early for me. It's just almost going to be about 1 p.m.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Can I ask you to send me the details of those abuses? I'm doing a press release on Tuesday.
On Tuesday. Yeah, I just wanted to ask you, how frequently do you release? Are you releasing like on monthly basis or
No,
quite
it's
frequently?
whenever I can get the information and get the time to put it together, really. It's
Okay.
usually 3 or 4 months that we do a report.
Okay, so
But
it's driven by data.
A press release I can do, very quickly. But we want to talk about the escalation in violence that's recent, the last week, the last 2 weeks in August. Since the beginning of August, they've really hit us hard.
Yep.
And I want to highlight that with as much information as possible. So I'll have to write it well, tomorrow and Monday, really. But so if you could send me that detail between now and well, tomorrow night, that would be great.
Yeah, so I will be able to send you the information that I got on from Hararge. Also, we have lists of names concerning the one that happened in Begi and Kobor.
Yes,
but
if
I
I
will
can
have
have
to
that.
go back to our team on the ground to collect as much information as we can get.
Well,
So
just
yeah, I'll reach out to them and try.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you very much, Daniel.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Nagati. Well,
Nagatula.
Okay, bye now.
Bye
Thanks.
bye.